spin early on and qualifying 9th anyway. It was a poor qualifying session. Evan David took advantage to take up second and reduce the gap to second place in the championship by just 2 points, but 35 points behind championship leader. So big day today. Of course, still 5 more races, 2 today, 3 at Monza, all to play for. But that lead by Timo Kachacek, who's qualified on pole 5 times through 7 races this season. He's had 7 consecutive podium finishes over the last 7 races. Paul Ricard, Red Bull Ring and now Barcelona. He is not just a driver on form, he's a driver who's got, can I say, 3 fingers on the championship title, not quite 1 hand?
He's picking up his best form right at where it matters the most. I think that is definitely for sure here, Ewan. There is Michael Shin, who of course comes in second in the championship, had a really poor day at the office yesterday and will be starting from the back of the grid for this particular race. And of course, not forgetting, we got reverse quali grid coming up soon, and it wasn't a great qualifying for Michael Shin either. So pressure is on for the man in second place, and this... But before we get down to it, let's have a look at the highlights from race 1 yesterday. It was a great start for Timo Kachacek at the very front row. Diego Della Torre also getting a busy start as well, but eventually got penalised for it. Evan David falling down into 3rd place and was also joined by Garfius as well, who was just making his way in behind. Side by side as well between Michael Shin and Everett Stack. It sent Stack into a spin. It looked 50-50 from our standpoint, but a penalty was eventually handed to, of course, Everett Stack. Garfius ended up in, or Della Torre ended up in the gravel trap just afterwards, though, coming through the final corner, allowing Garfius to move through. But then Garfius also found the gravel trap as well at the same time, eventually toppling down the order. Ed Pearson was furiously trying to shake things up for Nielsen Racing, would come close to Diego Della Torre, who would open the door for Fernando Barrichello to move up the inside to allow himself 2 places in 1 spot. Diego Della Torre would try and take the place back, but Barrichello would be strong enough to fend him off. No one could stop, though, Timo Kachacek, despite Evan David closing him down to a mere second. He would take the checkered flag, restoring his name to the top step for a 5th win this season. So this is how the championship looks. It's Timo Kachacek on top. He has broken 3 centuries of points. He's ahead by 36 on Michael Shin. A huge gap there when you consider the nature of the championship, with Evan David 2 points behind Shin and also Jose Garfius down in 4th. So a vibrant championship fight. We're also going to be in for a busy race. Let's take you through the starting grid. Front row, Alessandro Famolaro will start on pole for the first time this season for BVM, alongside newcomer Theo Macoris for Nielsen Racing. Ed Pearson on row 2, joined by Fernando Barrichello on his return this weekend in 4th. Row 3, Evan David lines up alongside Timo Kachacek, the 2 title rivals once again meeting here on the grid, with Rui Hengyer in his first weekend in the Euroformula, lining up alongside Team Motor Park's Diego Della Torre. On the road down towards row 5, 9th place for Everett Stack. Jose Garfius will line up alongside him in 10th, with the back marker, another championship contender, Michael Shin. And this weekend, very much going against him, seeing as he is now going to be starting from the rear, not just in this particular race, but also factoring in our race coming up later on this afternoon, Ewan.
This will be a thrilling first corner, I imagine, with the likes of Famolaro and Macuris on the front row, a position they're not used to, of course, in Euroformula, and Evan David and Timo Kachacek on row 3, courtesy of their success in race number 1. You could see a lot happening in turns 1, 2 and 3 on the opening lap. They're going to go off for their formation lap, get things in order. Was that someone struggling to get away? Or no, it wasn't. On the formation lap. But yeah, a lot of the story of race number 2 this weekend in the Euroformula could be written in the opening a few seconds of this race number 2.
Yeah, obviously BVM Racing coming here with 3 cars, the most we have seen from them in recent years. Of course, ran by Giuseppe Mazzotti, with every chance of breaking the Motor Park streak this season. They have got a driver well placed to do that in Timo Kachacek. But it will be Venezuelan Alessandro Famolaro, the 22-year-old from Caracas, who was formerly raced in the Italian F4 Championship, the ADAC F4 Series, as well as Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and has also hit the heights in FIA Formula 3 for a couple of starts as well back in 2022. We see him back here, though, in single-seater action again, this time in the Euroformula Open Championship, taking the start for the first time on pole position with Theo Macoris, who makes the move across, representing Nielsen Racing, the 19-year-old from Bedford in the UK. The British Cypriot, with numerous karting successes, taken 8 junior titles between 2016 and 2020. Also a champion in Radicals in the SR1 Cup, Took 9 wins on his quest for that one, 17 podiums, also raced in GB4, but also the Ligier European Series in support of the European Le Mans Championship. He won that series as well. 11 races, 3 wins, 3 poles, 9 podiums, and then also taking part in Le Mans Cup earlier on this year as well in LMP3 class. But he's back in single-seaters, and I'm really keen to see how he gets on, starting from the front row of the grid. Any predictions, Ewan?
I'm going to say there will be a change of leader within the first half of the opening lap. And I just find it so difficult to see Pascal Harcek and David by come the end of this race, those two being in the front two. I would really like to see Michael Shin make his way through into the top 4 or 5 just to get some points on the board, and potentially before race 3 later on today, where again he's going to be starting in 9th place due to that qualifying yesterday. He really has got to make a move. He needs the fire in the belly today, Michael Shin.
Yeah, definitely does. We'll see whether Michael Shin can turn this around. He's going to need to turn it around in 2 races, which is going to be very tricky to do. But starting from the back, we know how furious Michael Shin can be behind the wheel. He can really cook up a storm. He'll need things to go his way this time, and he's got a fleet of cars that are going to be tenaciously also trying to improve their own positions. Diego Della Torre, Everett Stack, Jose Garfias, as well as Enzo Yer in his first starts in the Euroformula Open Championship this weekend, all outside of that top 6. Timo Karczyk, though, starting from 6th place. How much of a good getaway can he get at the start of this one behind the highest rookie placed Yevon David, also in contest for the title? As all the cars line up onto the grid, marshals waving the yellow flags as the drivers get into position. There's Diego Della Torre. He can't afford another jump start this time, otherwise he will face a further penalty. There's the view from inside the garages. Of course, Nielsen Racing in their first season of the Euroformula Open Championship. It's been a long time since Ed Pearson took their first win in this series back at Portimao. The lights now, though, going red. All 5 are lit. They go out his pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for Ed Pearson. Leads the way right from the get-go. Alessandro Famolaro was slow away, and as was too Theo Macoris, as now they charge down through towards turn 1. Yevon David now also moving through into second as they go 3 wide into turn 1. And Fernando Barrichello joining the fray. Barrichello from a long way back, starting in 4th, moving into the lead of the race. Returning to the Euroformula, Barrichello in front through turn 1, and a tap on the front wing there. I'm not quite sure what that was. Enzo Yer going off into the gravel trap, but it's Barrichello who now leads the way here at Barcelona, ahead of Theo Macoris as well. It looks like Ed Pearson now in second, I should say. Yevon David into 3rd as well. What a start for Fernando Barrichello. Yevon David was also smartly away. Ed Pearson, what a start.
Well, I predict the lead might change in the opening couple of corners. I didn't respectively think it might be Fernando Barrichello. Yevon David, great to see him come through at the start of the race too, already ahead of Timo Karczyk from starting behind him. So all to play for already. This is what Euroformula throws up in the opening few corners of almost every single race. Barrichello, he's already got sort of 2 podiums in the last couple of races. He's been doing well because he didn't race at Red Bull Ring, so his last 3 races he's gone win, third. He's going for his 4th podium in a row. Maybe this should be a surprise.
He took an emotional first ever win in the championship last year at Red Bull Ring. Michael Shin on the move and down the inside of the 99 of Jose Garfias as he looks to move into 7th place, but at the moment it's Fernando Barrichello leading the way, and of course took his 2nd win in the Euroformula Open Championship, of course not too long ago back at Paul Ricard. It was a double podium weekend on that occasion, as you so rightly said, Ewan, as we now watch as Garfias comes into the pits now. That front wing is dislodged, and obviously holding up a group of cars in behind. He was the one who got tapped on the front coming through turn 1, and now Barrichello coming under fire. Ed Pearson, full of hunger no less, looking for a 2nd race win this season. It's been a long time since he's tasted victory here in the Euroformula Open Championship, and around the outside he'll dance into the lead ahead of Fernando Barrichello. Fantastic move from Nielsen's Ed Pearson, and now leads the way, and in comes Yevon David looking for a piece of the pie. Pearson, though, brilliant through the first sector.
That is utterly brilliant. We'll see the replay of that, I'm certain. That is fantastic from Ed Pearson. Of course, got the first win of the season back at Portimao, race number 1. Followed that up with a 2nd podium. Since then, he's had 3 podiums, but he has not tasted success since the very start of the season, back on the 27th of April.
It was stunning from Ed Pearson. What a way to start. The rear lights flashing. Let's have a look at the slow-mo replay. See him playing with the wheel there, looking for the gap, threading the needle, and with a twist of the wheel to the left, found his way past the Brazilian Fernando Barrichello, and the race will heat up again. Pearson can't afford to allow any mistakes through this particular race now. It has been an emotional journey this year. He was furious after Red Bull Ring, and now we're seeking redemption. And Rui Hengye also in the pits. Giuseppe Mazzotti, the team boss, you can just see there with the headset on, just observing as his driver makes his way back out onto the track. You can just see some of the spray there lifting as well. I'm interested to know what kind of tyres they're utilising at the moment. Of course, I'm wondering whether they're accounting for the crossover from wets to dries, because it's looking a lot drier out there on the track. I'm not quite seeing it. I wonder if they've got the slicks on here, Ewan.
I mean, we had literally puddles running down the grid about an hour ago, and now it looks absolutely fine. The track temperatures have gone from 21 towards 23. In fact, 24.5 now, air temperature up to 23. So things have been heating up considerably over the last 45 minutes, and Euroformula have got the best of it. This is the best weather we've seen, the best track conditions we've seen today so far, and it's proving that in the quality of the racing too.
Yeah, it certainly looks like a dry track out there, and it does look like the surface of those tyres is flat. I can't see any grooves on them anyway. Barrichello trying to defend really strongly against Yevon David. They're actually going to catch up with some of the back markers. Enzo, yeah, just making his way through the first sector. There is the Sri Lankan Lion. Right now, currently 2/10 back on Barrichello at the moment. Fastest lap taken by Michael Shin as he moves past Theo Macoris as well. Tim Karchik remains in 5th, half a second behind Famolaro, his teammate at BVM this season. Let's have a look at the race start. So this is where it all went wrong. The front two did not get a great start at all. We had 2 stallers at the back. Michael Shin couldn't go because he got held up by a car in front. This is on board with Tim Karchik, who of course got a little bit, I suppose the momentum halted for him after it was a tough start for the Nielsen car belonging to Theo Macoris. He moved past Macoris right at the get-go. Just look at this from Barrichello. A brilliant start. The best start of all, though, I have to say, was probably Ed Pearson. Brilliant getaway, though Barrichello challenged around the outside, managed to get past Pearson. He had the better line, Barrichello, the better line of sight coming through towards turn 2, carried the momentum through, took the lead of the race. But of course, it would be Ed Pearson who would later take it back. Now, this was the tap on the front wing I saw as well. The 77 of Enzo Yeh getting into the front wing, tapping the front wing of Jose Garfias. That's why Garfias had to come into the pits. And so he had to come in for a front wing checker. Well, probably a replacement because it was loose on the front end. But here comes Enzo Yeh again. Obviously, now a back marker, routed to the rear of the field, and is now currently caught in the middle of a sequence of cars making their way through. Karchik all over the back of Alessandro Famolaro. Karchik can't afford any dramas either, because remember, he is leading the championship at the moment and would ideally like to grow the gap. But with Pearson and Barrichello being where they are in this rostrum here, Ewan, this is not ideal for Yevon David, because he needs as many points as possible to close that gap
Absolutely
to Karchik.
Not. Yeah, Karchik will be very keen to get past his teammate Famolaro as soon as humanly possible, because he'll have to bridge that gap. There is a gap forming between the front 3 and the rest of the field. It's only getting bigger. They're getting past the back marker there, the 77 of Rouchignier. But you're absolutely right, George. Yevon David needs to win this race, really, and potentially win race 3 later on this afternoon as well.
Here comes Michael Shin at the inside now of Tim Karchik. Of course, Michael Shin yesterday, a retiree, could not quite find the angle to make the move count, but they were wheel to wheel on the entry into Verth Curve. Just Karchik slightly braver. Michael Shin backing off. Can't afford to get too aggressive. He can't let his head rule. He can't let his heart rule his head, I should say, probably in this scenario. It's purple in the middle sector for Ed Pearson, who's still continuing out in front. We're right on board now with Tim Karchik on the run down towards turn 10. Still stuck behind Alessandro Famolaro, the Venezuelan. The 22-year-old still holding on to P4 right now. And 2.9 is the gap between him and Yevon David. It's essentially become a 3-horse race for the win here.
It has at the moment, yeah. Obviously still 14 laps to go, plenty to play with. And as long as the rain holds off, and again, in every direction, it looks absolutely fine right now. We are still scheduled rain for around about midday, which is beyond the finish of this race. Now, coming back to the points here, the reason Yevon David really needs to win this race, he doesn't just need points and to beat Tim Karchik, he needs to beat him by some. There's over 25 points now, 38 in total between them. That is more than an entire race win, and that is when you get that psychological advantage where, okay, this is a sizable gap now. Things can go wrong and I'll still be leading the championship.
Yeah, we saw both Karchik and Famolaro dancing again through the first sector. We're just seeing them now come into fruition. Now, has Karchik managed to get past? I wonder if he has, actually. I think he might have. Yes, he has. So Karchik has jumped past Alessandro Famolaro. We got a battle for the race lead now as back comes Barrichello around the outside of Ed Pearson as they come through Seat Corner, and it's still Pearson who retains the race lead for now. Barrichello, though, looking slightly more venomous inside the Motor Park car here in race 2, and has a great chance here to add perhaps a 3rd win to his collective here in the Euroformula Open Championship, but Pearson absolutely does not want that. He wants to try and bring Nielsen their second win in the Euroformula Open Championship, and his second as well. As I said, it's been a long road. He was very upset with what happened back last time out at Red Bull Ring, was despondent with obviously the results, and he believed that, of course, they had better opportunities to score big points this year. He saw the bright lights for Nielsen Racing this year after that first win back at Portimao. But another win could blow those demons away and give him every chance of returning to the top step. But Barrichello is going to do everything he can to stop that from happening. The tenacious Brazilian, who has spent a great deal of time in Brazilian F4, now coming in to the Euroformula Open Championship and looking to take yet another win, I should say. Of course, the son of former Formula One driver Rubens Barrichello, who in recent times has also taken part in GT racing as of late. Of course, Brazilian stock car champion as well at the same time. It's another twist of the wheel there from Fernando Barrichello as FIFO now makes his way through turn 3. With Yevon David now half a second behind and watching it all unfold in front. But he, I'm sure, will have no qualms in sticking his nose in. He'll probably just conserve the tyres, keep them for later when the race hots up.
Yeah, 3.3 seconds now back to Kahacek. So Yevon David third, Kahacek fourth, top two in the top. First and third in the championship, I should say. Of course, Michael Shin in second place still by 2 points over Yevon David. No points scored yesterday. Interestingly, Barrichello has never come second in a race this season. He's had a win and 3 third places. The earliest come back at Spa-Francorchamps, third place. 2 consecutive podiums, as we've already mentioned, at Paul Ricard, first and third, and a third place yesterday, which is gifted to him on a plate, really. There was absolute chaos in the race yesterday. It was fantastic to watch. If you've not caught it up yet, do make sure you catch it on the YouTube channel. It was brilliant. But Ed Pearson, not stood on the podium for 9 races now, long overdue in that time. He has had a couple of 4th place finishes and a 5th as well. So fingers crossed for him. It would be great to see and his team as well.
Yeah, no question. There's a slow shot of our top 3 at the moment. There is Fernando Barrichello. Just twisting that wheel, looking for that grip. Of course, yeah, you can just see the slick tyres in full use here. Didn't think we'd use them today, to be honest. I have to say, I thought we were going to see full wet conditions right through the course of the day. We expected 10 o'clock to be a downpour, and we wouldn't see the light of day or light of sunshine again. But no, it turns out we've got some really lovely blue skies starting to peer through the clouds, so we might be okay. We'll have to wait and see. I won't count my chickens just yet, folks. I will try not to jinx it. Commentator's curse is certainly well known. We'll take a look inside the Nielsen garage. Of course, just pensively watching. I'm sure there's a little bit of nerves in there at the moment. They want to see Ed Pearson take a brilliant victory here, which will help them on their quest looking ahead to next season. Of course, all this is about the building blocks of this new team as they look to become another dominant force in this championship. Of course, Motor Park have won championships over the many years, and we look back over the last few years. We've seen the likes of Brad Benavides win the title last year. Of course, we saw Enzo Trulli coming in. He took pole at this track back in 2023 for Crypto Tower. But Motor Park as a team have won the championship. If you factor in Crypto Tower as well, they've won it every year since 2019. And BVM Racing, obviously looking to enter Timek Kahacek in to win the Drivers' Championship, and it's been won by a Motor Park driver every year since Marino Sato back in 2019, the season after Felipe Drugovich would go on his record-breaking run of race wins to capturing the 2018 title for RP Motorsport. But obviously this season, a slightly different set of affairs, and Giuseppe Mazzotti has brought his Knights in shining carbon fibre here to bring home some big results. There is Kai Degenhardt, of course, the engineer for the Motor Park team, and is a brilliant student of the sport and helping these young drivers blossom as they begin their junior single-seater careers.
Yevon David is really struggling to keep up with the pace of Pearson and Barrichello. To 1.5 seconds now, still the same distance back to Timek Kahacek. It was 3.3, now 3.4, so not too relevant. But these front two are starting to pull away. That is one thing I would not have predicted. So all credit to them. Fernando Barrichello all over the back of Ed Pearson. That could be the story potentially for the next 10 laps. Unless Yevon David can find something somewhere, but it's not happening right now.
Everett Stack moving into 7th as well, ahead of Theo Macoris. So that's a place gain for him. Michael Shin still on the back of Alessandro Famolaro. Kahacek has been given clear rein now, but that gap between himself and Famolaro has stayed at 1.2 seconds for quite some time. We've still got 10 laps to go. until the end of this race. Pearson notching 7 laps onto our screens at the moment, and they're starting to pull away ever so slightly ahead of Yevon David at the moment. It was a purple first sector for Barrichello again on this opening lap. He has been impressive in this race, probably one of the most, probably one of the strongest. I mean, aside from the race wins, obviously, you know, they don't come without raw talent, but obviously, I would say this is the more aggressive I think I've seen Fernando Barrichello in this particular race. And Pearson, obviously, with his season of frustrations, no question he's looking for a big result. And in fact, in this lap alone, 2 personal bests inside the first 2 sectors and a purple final sector as well to register a 1:36.814. The fastest lap, though, with Jose Garfias, and he's gone purple again in the first sector. Remember, though, he came in for a change of front wing.
Now, we've just seen the first time in 4 laps that Timothy Harcek found time on Yevon David by 0.2 of a second, but that gap remaining at around about 3 seconds, which is not going to be close enough. But points-wise, in 3rd position, 15 points. In 4th place, you get 12. It's only a 3 points difference, with 38 points between them at the moment, with 1 more race to come today, going towards Monza. Ideally, Yevon David will want that gap to be below 25 points. It's that psychological barrier of a full race win, isn't it?
It is, and it does mean, of course, we will be heading through into qualifying later on, again in another reverse grid situation, but the amount of opportunities greatly reduces as you make your way through the very sensitive portions of the season's campaign. And we are at that sensitive point now because we've got just 1 round to go after this concludes, and only a select number of races, but the championship's still up for grabs. But at the moment, Timothy Harcek doing a great job, and obviously 3.1 back. In Kaharchik's mind, the ideal would be for him to overtake Yevon David. I don't think he's necessarily going to be too worried about Ed Pearson or Fernando Barrichello because they're not in the championship fight. His goal would be, okay, I'll finish ahead of Yevon David. Let's try and stop him from getting any points over us right now. But you know, that's racing. You know, this is the championship.
And I mean, he's ahead of Michael Sheen, and that looks fairly comfortable right now. I can't see Michael Sheen sort of getting past Timothy Harcek at the moment. So as long as he's ahead of Michael Sheen, who is in 2nd place behind him, and he only loses 2 points on Yevon David, then he doesn't lose anything in the championship because Yevon David will pull alongside Michael Sheen, and Timothy Harcek will retain that 35 point gap difference. So this is, it looks like damage limitation, but actually the position Harcek's in is absolutely fine.
Yeah. At the moment, based on what we're seeing over the last lap, Harcek lapping with a 1:36.458. Yevon David, a 1:36.513. At the moment, you're talking 0.06 of a second difference, approximately, between the 2 of them. 1.7 between David and Barrichello. Barrichello now beyond a second, so Ed Pearson starting to run away with this. Let's have a look at the slow-mo replay. Ed Pearson coming through turns 1 and turns 2. We always love seeing shots at this portion of track. Such a lovely segment. And certainly the drivers enjoy it all the more. Ed Pearson looking to take this to the checkered flag. We've got 8 laps to run until said checkered flag as well. Car number 24 looking to muster in a big result. Also, we've had 6 rounds already where we've concluded 3 races over a weekend. We're halfway through now. The 7th. And so plenty of action still to come, and it's going to heat up, I'm sure, when we head to Monza for our next round as well. We've had 17 races without a race win for Ed Pearson. Of course, the first one coming right at the start of the campaign at Portimao. He said that they stand a little bit more of a chance of winning something this year, but things didn't quite work out the way he probably envisioned. But this will be a relief victory that can turn around a driver's viewpoint on a season almost instantaneously, and it could just be the boon of confidence that the Nielsen Racing team and Pearson are seeking for.
I think belief is absolutely the right word. It's that you start the season with a win and, well, a double podium, not just a win. It was 3rd place in race 2 at Portimao as well. And then you have a bit of a dry spell. There was a 3rd place in there a couple of seconds, but although you'll often say sort of publicly, yes, my team are backing me, I'm backing myself, but to get a win, and let's be clear, it's 7 laps to go. We're writing this as if he's got it. He's absolutely not won this yet. Let's be super clear on that.
Really based it on face value at the moment.
Absolutely, but a win would mean so much just to that, to back up that self-confidence, say, yes, I can do this again. It wasn't just a fluke at the start of the season. I'm here to stay.
Well, It's purple in the first sector as well for for Timo Karcik, so he's closing in on Jevon David at the moment, and Jevon David, I think, being asked to push as well because he's green in the first sector. So we could yet see a battle for third place should this carry on, but the gap at the moment, of course, between the two drivers, currently 2.5 seconds between them right now. Of course, Fernando Barrichello starting to drop away from Ed Pearson, but P2 for Barrichello is certainly not a bad result at all. You can just hear them on the radio or see them on the radio to Ed Pearson right now, the Nielsen Racing team. And this could mean the absolute world for Ed Pearson right now. 2 seconds is now expanded on Pearson, I'm sure, being given the instruction, go for it, go for home. And that's exactly what he's going to try and do. 6 laps to take us to the checkered flag. Jevon David now starting to get a little bit closer to Barrichello now. Karcik also coming into this. We could still see a fight for the final podium places. We'll wait and see.
And the gap from David Karcik, first time it's been under 2.5 seconds for pretty much the entirety of this race from the get-go. And as we've mentioned, he doesn't need to pass him. Yes, it would be one-upmanship if he were to do so, but it wouldn't change the standings in the championship gap from first to second whatsoever. It just means that Jevon David would pull alongside Michael Shin as things stands at the moment, in which case for Karcik, there's real... He doesn't need to pass Jevon David. He doesn't need to make any risks, take any damage whatsoever. He can safely... If he brings this home in 4th place, the championship is still exactly as it stood about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, of course, through one weekend, if you were to take fastest laps and also the race win at the same time, we're talking 78 points in one weekend. Of course, Karcik with every chance now to increase the deficit. But at this point, there will be a couple of points going Jevon David's way, but certainly not enough to trouble Timo Karcik at this midway point through the Barcelona weekend, as now Jevon David gets closer to the back of Barrichello this time and as well within the slipstream. 2nd place up for grabs. Jevon David needs every point he can muster in a quest for the title. The Sri Lankan Lion around the outside now this time as Barrichello comes under pressure, and very easily done there from Jevon David. Smartly done too. Of course, both of these drivers moving through to the FIA Formula 3 Championship next season. Jevon David, though, superior in this exchange.
And now this becomes a little bit more significant because the points for 2nd place are 18, whereas 4th is 12. So that 2.3 point difference now becomes 6 as things stand. So Timo Karcik's viewpoint now will be slightly different because he'll think he can catch Barrichello 1.8 seconds back. It was as much as 3.1 to David when he was in 3rd. 3 seconds between Jevon David and Ed Pearson. Is that reachable? I think it's on the unlikely side at the minute, the way Ed Pearson's driving. No mistakes whatsoever. Apex, apex, apex. Driving beautifully in P1.
I just can't believe how much the track has dried up from this morning. Truly unbelievable. If you saw it this morning, folks, you never thought we'd see this at all. But Slick Tyres providing us with something. Pearson now out by 3 seconds ahead of Jevon David. And Barrichello now locked into 3rd, but now Karcik's time against 3rd place has now been brought down to 1.6. I'd say that it's doable for Karcik to at least enter the fray at 3rd place. As Garfias notches again another purple first sector on this lap, but currently routed down in 10th ahead of Enzo, who's in 11th spot now. As they take the turn now, down the long straights, through towards turn 1. And again, time gained by Timo Karcik right now. It's 1.5 seconds the gap. Last lap, a 1:36.4 for Timo Karcik. It was a 1:37.6. Here comes Michael Shin now alongside Everett Stack as they look to fight over P6 at the moment as they cross the line as they come through out of turn 1. Michael Shin should have the upper hand, but Stack looking to go for the switchback and take the long way round through towards turn 3. That's a lovely move from Everett Stack, can I just say, and he could yet position himself into 6 straight off the bat. Brilliant move from Everett Stack, and doing enough to keep Michael Shin behind. So that is Stack into 6th spot. Back comes Shin now. We'll look up the inside. Nothing doing. It will be Stack in 6th this time with 4 laps to go.
That's fantastic from Everett Stack. I mean, he had a win in round 3, first win of the season in race 3 at the Red Bull Ring. Not a great day yesterday, finishing 9th place, just inside the points. 3 podiums this season. He's another guy that's didn't start the campaign particularly well, but he's come back with those 2nd place Hockenheim, 3rd place Hungaroring, and finally got the win at Red Bull Ring. And he's currently 6th in the championship, the young American, in his season. But yeah, that is just showing what he can do. Michael Shin down to 7th place. Again, weekend going from bad to worse at the minute.
Yeah, running on board with Tim Archik. He took 1.2 seconds out last lap of Fernando Barrichello. So I tell you what, we could see the battle for P3 now ignite, with BVM with every chance to put a car inside the top 3. We could yet see 3 different teams inside the top 3 as well. All 4 drivers inside the top 4 went faster in the first sector, though Yevon David the only one out of the 4 to actually marshal in an improved lap time in all 3 sectors, though Ed Pearson did improve on his last lap with 2 personal bests, but it was Yevon David with all 3 and was faster than Ed Pearson over the last lap as well. The only driver in the top 4 to register a 1:35 in the last lap, the others all in the 36s, as we now watch as Kaharchik gets a little bit closer to the back of Barrichello, now inside a second on the Brazilian. As surely they're going to fight it out over P3, the final podium spot in the rostrum, and this might be Kaharchik's only chance at getting one last gasp overtake in. Yevon David starting to career away, and Barrichello back 2 seconds away from his Motorpark teammate, and in fact Yevon David taking 4 tenths out of Ed Pearson.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just watching the pictures there at the same time. I love this new graphic, by the way, with the speed and the throttle there. I've not seen that. That's new this season for me. It's fantastic. Yeah, 2.78 back to Yevon David. And Tim Kaharchik, you know what, racing drivers, although I've said it a few times, the points difference is not insignificant, but it's not damage limitation either. It's just like right on that bubble of, okay, I can cope with this points difference if I don't catch. Yevon David already beats me today. Michael Shin is falling back as we talk at the minute. But he's a racing driver. He'll want to stand on the podium. 3rd and 4th, there's a difference there, of course. 0.7 of a second to Barrichello. And have him in his sights. So once it's coming down the line now, it's going to stick out. Oh, it's out to 0.9 actually. It's grown ever so slightly. But this is looking at the front now, a bit more of a formality now. With 2 laps to go, you can't see Ed Pearson losing this from this position.
No, I can't see that. 2 laps to go now. We're on the penultimate lap of the race. Pearson 15 laps in the pocket, 2.9. The gap goes out again by 2 tenths on Yevon David. So the gains that David had made being thrown away as Kaharchik gets again a little bit closer to the back of Barrichello. 6 tenths now recorded is the gap between them as they come into sector 2, heading down in towards turn 5. The in-swinger now, Jose Garcia, still with the fastest lap of the race as well at the moment, after lap 13. So we take a look at Everett Stack on our replay. In the number 9 car, just twisting the wheel, coming through the first sector. And we're back with the live pictures as now Barrichello has got company. The pole now, menacing as he is, all over the rear of Barrichello's Dallara 324 as they come downhill through towards turn 10. We ride back on board here with Tim Kaharchik as they come down in towards the apex of the corner. Braking inwards now, attacking that apex, and now heading uphill. Just see they're taking a tighter line than Fernando Barrichello. So whether Kaharchik is carrying a little bit of extra grip on his tyres, I'm not quite sure, but making the most now of these dry conditions while we have them. Of course, some of the clouds now starting to cover the blue sky that we did, of course, have. There was some patchy blue starting to appear. Could that mean the arrival of late wet weather? Not quite sure. As we now enter the final lap of the race, Pearson, 16 laps in the book, but Yevon David taking half a second out of the gap. It's 2.5 as they come through turn 1.
The real fight here on this last lap is between Barrichello and Tim Kaharchik. That's, as I can see, the only difference we're going to see. There's big gaps between Fumilaro and Stack back to Shin. Half a second back to Theo Mercurius, of course, started on the front row, fell back early on, but still fighting there in the later stages of the points. But down to 2.2, it's still coming down through this section, but it feels like that visual there that Ed Pearson can roll this home. Again, first podium in 9 races, first win in going to be 17 from race number 1 that started the season so incredibly well. Race 2 at Barcelona, he could taste victory once again in the last few corners.
He certainly could, coming through the very fast Campser. Certainly no concerns, they can take this one flat out, heading downhill. And this is such an important moment for Nielsen Racing and, of course, team boss Sven Thompson arriving in the Euroformula Open back at the Algarve. It was a perfect start to their first weekend in the Euroformula back then. They've had doom and gloom in between, though. And Ed Pearson, who's faced more demons than most, certainly after the Red Bull Ring. Well, he can put those to bed now. 17 races without a victory. Well, let's say goodbye to that. The Brits on top once more. It's Ed Pearson who wins here at Barcelona. A fantastic moment for the young man. His father in the background, happy as you like. A phenomenal victory for Ed Pearson here at Barcelona in race 2. It's Yevon David in second, with Fernando Barrichello coming home in third. Another great podium for the young Brazilian. Yevon David putting points on Timo Karczyk this time. He will close the gap a little bit. And of course, the gap between himself and P2 Michael Shin is going to come down notoriously. I'm not quite sure whether he's done enough to overtake in that championship position. We will, of course, find out later on. Timo Karczyk coming home in fourth after a valiant drive to reduce that 3-second gap down to 3/10 between himself and Fernando Barrichello. Famolaro finishing in fifth ahead of Everett Stack. And then Michael Shin in seventh, Theo Macoris down in eighth, Diego Della Torre down in ninth, Garfius after the wing change down in 10th, and Enzo Yer also coming into the pits, of course, a lap down in P11. All 11 drivers taking the checkered flag, but it's Ed Pearson with a fantastic second win this season. It's been a long time coming. He was so frustrated after Red Bull Ring, but now he can enjoy the feel-good factor of winning a Euroformula Open race. A blistering result for the Nielsen team, and it's Ed Pearson confirmed as your race winner here at Montemelo, Barcelona. Yevon David in second, 2.2 off the back, with Fernando Barrichello third as well, with Timo Karczyk in fourth head of Alessandro Famolaro, Everett Stack in sixth head of Michael Shin, Theo Macoris in eighth, with Diego Della Torre in ninth, Jose Garfias down in 10th place, and of course Enzo Yer finishing last of the runners in 11th place, of course the young rookie stepping in. So this is how the Drivers' Championship looks. Here's your confirmation. Timo Karczyk still leads the championship on 315. The point narrows a little bit between Yevon David and himself, but Yevon David crucially overtaking Michael Shin in the championship. 32 points between leader and second, with Jose Garfias down in fourth as well. Ed Pearson now into fifth after all that, breaks the 200 points gap, and now nurses a 105 points deficit from the top of the championship, but he won't mind that. This obviously presents potentially a turning point, a huge boost of confidence. The visor open, I'm sure it means so much to him. I'm sure the celebrations are going to be wild when he jumps out of the car. Oh,
it's fantastic. Love a good story like this, and fair play to them, fair play to Nielsen Racing. It's wonderful after starting third on the grid, and it was that start, it was all, that entire race was dictated at the opening corner. Just brilliant. Fernando Barrichello as well mentioned, fourth consecutive podium after having only one podium in the opening 13 races. That is an entirely different driver in the car number 41 right now. And here is your winner, Ed Pearson. He'll take a big stand and go and meet his teammates. Well, it was just easy as that, he says.
That, and well, releases a lot of the frustration that I'm sure he has had so far this campaign, and delighted with it, I'm sure. Nielsen Racing understandably thrilled. They really deserve this. They really do. They've had so many challenges. Yevon David, obviously, very happy, I'm sure, to take the second. At the very least, taking points away from Timo Karczyk at the moment. There is Fernando Barrichello, and I'm sure Rubens will be thrilled for him that he's taken some big points today. Giovanni Scala giving Ed Pearson a big hug. Of course, remember, Ed Pearson on entering the championship was a motor park driver last season. Let's have a look at the replay again of him crossing the line, taking the checkered flag. A brilliant return to the top step for Pearson, and reaction to the Nielsen garage, quite rightfully so, in full voice after that moment. And Fernando Barrichello giving him congratulations at the same time as well. What a magnificent display, and a fantastic advert for Euroformula Racing. And just to say as well, Timo Karczyk very nearly making it 3 teams inside the top 3 if he managed to overtake Barrichello, but 3 teams in the top 4 isn't bad.
It's quite funny. We were sat here for about 20 minutes going, oh, Ed Pearson's won this. And of course he did, but you could see the relief on his team in the garage that, yes, he's finally got it done. There was nerves right to the very, very last minute there.
Well, let's run through the top 3. Fernando Barrichello back in the Euroformula Open and back on the podium once again as well. Fantastic performance from the Brazilian. And he'll stand on the 3rd step, joined by Yevon David, who managed to recover and move up to 2nd. Had a great start as well, did the Sri Lankan, just not quite enough for 1st place, because that went the way of the young Brit. Ed Pearson, a 2nd victory of the season after 17 races, takes victory here in the Euroformula, and he's with Alfredo.
Yeah, we are here with Mr. Pearson. It's been a long time.
It has been. It's been a long time coming. Yeah, I mean, last time you obviously saw me was Portimao round 1. A lot's changed since then. Us as a team have evolved and evolved. Obviously, a new team, it's so hard to build. And I'm so proud of the guys for doing an amazing job throughout the year. Every setback we have, we always come back stronger. So I'm really proud of the guys, and they really deserve this.
And this race was fantastic. Difficult because I guess the asphalt was still treacherous.
Yeah, it was treacherous, but I'm English. That's what you expect, really, from an Englishman. No, we took the risk of going on new, half new, because I was like, why not? And it was an advantage at the end against FIFU. So no, I was very happy about that, and happy that I was able to keep pace and drop some guys.
Well done. Enjoy the moment.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Well, an exceptional race. Let's see how it unfolded. It was a poor start for Theomakoris and also not a great start for Famolaro. They forfeited the front row spot straight away, and it went to Ed Pearson initially until Fernando Barrichello stepped up. The Brazilian around the outside coming through turn 1, pinching the race lead right at the get-go on the outset of turn 2. Yevon David also right in the forefront. Jose Garfias getting a tap on the front wing from Enzo Yer, who also ended up in the gravel trap and had to recover back out onto the circuit. It was side by side, though, with this fantastic overtake from Ed Pearson coming through the first portion of circuit, coming through turns 1 and 2, that gave him that race lead. Michael Shin also furiously trying to make places after starting from the rear side of the grid, managed to move his way past Macoris. Yevon David was trying to close up as well, eventually passing his own teammate Fernando Barrichello on the run down through towards the turn 1 and turn 2. The two drivers that are both moving up to FIA Formula 3 for next season, setting their sights on P2 glory. The Sri Lankan Lion, though, came out on top in that exchange. But overall, no one could stop the young Brit. 17 races without a race win. Of course, Portimao was the first one at the start of the season. He can now taste victory success once more, and Nielsen's second victory. And now we can have a look in behind the scenes as the podium celebrations are about to begin, and the Nielsen flag on the shoulders of Ed Pearson. And yet again, the new team on the top step. They'll enjoy it, and we love it. It's great for the championship to have a third team come in and perform the way they have done, Ewan.
Absolutely, it's fantastic. It's great to watch, and I love the flag over the shoulders. You don't see that too often, the team flag. Sometimes the national flag, but the team flag, it just shows. And in that interview when he said he's so proud of the team, and they're clearly proud of him, great moment for them. They've got one more race to come, so don't celebrate too hard, guys. Race 3 coming up later on this afternoon.
Yeah, obviously, though, Ed Pearson's going to enjoy this, and it hasn't happened very often this season. Been a long time since the first one, and Nielsen Racing will enjoy lifting the team's trophy aloft as well. Full celebrations here for Sven Thompson's team. But Ed Pearson with the flag will now have the national anthem of the UK. So the United Kingdom national anthem ringing out for Ed Pearson. And very shortly he will accept the winning trophy. But first and foremost, we have to supply the P3 trophy to Fernando Barrichello, the Brazilian, back on the podium once again. And of course, making that podium number 5 in total as well. Of course, a winner already once before, has taken 3 third positions, still hasn't taken a second place finish just yet, because that was taken away by Yevon David, who accepts his. Of course, Jesus Pereira, the CEO of the GT Sport organization, presenting the second place trophy to Yevon David. Mr. Santa Maria, of course, boss of the Barcelona racetrack, offers the winning trophy to Ed Pearson. And isn't he delighted? Look at the reaction. The face says it all. A massive relief, I'm sure, Ewan.
Oh, I just can't imagine what it feels like, yeah. I mean, I've never stood there, George, but I can think about it. And then Tim Nielsen getting the team trophy as well. But it's just a great story, and it's a bit of a cliche, but no two races are ever the same. But in Euroformula, like no weekends ever like any other. What a contrast to the race we had yesterday. And of course, one more coming up this afternoon, which is when we have the qualifying top 6 reversed, and we'll do it all again.
We certainly will. Winning team's trophy going to Nielsen, rookie trophy as well to Yevon David. And we'll look forward to seeing these drivers once again go at it. But folks, that brings an end to the Race 2 broadcast. We still have one to go. Join us later on this afternoon for Race 3. Goodbye.